All right, we're going to try lesson 91. Here's the way we're going to try this. I'm going to do this as a video. At the end of the video, I will give you the homework assignment. As the end of each day, the next day, I will give you the answers to the homework assignment. You will grade your own, keep a tally of what we're at, and I will get that information from you later. More on that to go. But let's start with lesson 91. If you are on page 602, what I would like you to do, the warm-up, we don't normally do the warm-up, but today we will. I want you to take a look at the warm-up, and as we do these type of things, you can stop this video at any time. So I like you to stop the video in a second here, do the warm-up, and then we'll go on to what's happening. All right? All right, the answers to the warm-up. The first one is absolute value equation. 2, the answer is 7. 3, the answer is 6. 4, the answer is x is equal to 11, and it is also equal to -3. And then finally, number 5, the correct answer is x is equal to -5, and it is equal to -9. Now, that's all supposed to be warm-up. That's all review type of thing there that you should remember from before. So, we're going to get into it here. Okay, this erase is pretty good. Let's go to section number 1. Okay, you see the examples there. You get the absolute value of x is less than 4. Okay, well, that's not too hard because you know that there's only 2 possible answers that can go in there, and that is 4 and -4. Both will go in there. If you have to graph these, and of course these are on page 602, so you can see this, okay, it would be graphed like -4 and 4. Okay. The other example here is the absolute value of x is greater than 7. Now, watch the difference here. This one is going to be graphed differently, okay, because we know the answer is 7 and -7, but when we graph these, it's different. And I'm going to show you why here in just a second. You still end up with -7 and 7, but because it's that, you still get a circle, but it points in this direction, and it is or. Now, this is really important. You'll notice right here, at the end of all the equations we have here today, if you have greater than at the end of the equation, then you get or. If you have less than at the end of your equation, you get the one that is connected together like that. And we'll see that a whole bunch, but you got to remember that at the end of your equation, that's how you can tell by which direction it points that it's going to be either or it's going to be the lines that connect together. And by the way, when we get there, and we will, when you get the greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it doesn't change a thing. Everything stays exactly the same. If it's still less than, you get the connectors. If it's greater than, you get the or. Okay? So that's example number 1. Here's what I would like you to do. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I want you to try them right now. Then I want you to stop, and then we'll see if we got the correct answer. So here's example A. Should look like this. The absolute value of x is less than 2.5. And then B, the absolute value of x is greater than 10. Okay, so I want you to stop the video when I tell you here. Well, you can do it now. And then when you're done, I'll show you the answers. All right, if you did it right, the answer to the first one here should have been negative 2.5. X is equal to negative 2.5 and 2.5. So when you graph that, remember I said if it's pointing in this direction, you're going to have, it's going to connect, and you can go 2, 3, so the one in the middle is going to be 2.5. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is still going to be 2.5, and of course this is negative 2.5. All right, now for B, what you should have ended up with is X is greater than 10, or X is less than negative 10. So when we graph that, it should look like negative 10, 10, circle, but it's going to point this direction and that direction, and you're going to get an OR in there. Again, because you've got this, it's an OR. Because you have this, they're connected, okay? Because it is less than, they're connected. Because it is greater than, you have the OR in here, okay? And remember, that's at the end of the equation, not at the beginning, because when we start dividing by negatives, those things can change on you, and you all of a sudden have to come up with the opposite one. So make sure you check that at the end of your equation. All right, so that is example number 1. Let's go to example number 2 now. Okay, example number 2 in the book, and this is on top of page 603. You get X plus, I'm sorry, that's the absolute value of X, plus 7.4 is equal to, not equal, is less than or equal to 9.8. Okay? Not that difficult here, because the first thing we want to do is isolate the variable. And we all know, why did God put you on this earth? To isolate the variable. Okay, so to do that, it's not real difficult. We get the absolute value of X plus 7.4. Subtract 7.4, and we're going to get is less than or equal to 9.8 minus 7.4. We end up with the absolute value of X is less than or equal to 2.2. Okay, now, whoops, 2.4. There we go. All right, so now when we graph that, it's going to be, because it's facing this way, because it's less than, we're going to have negative 2.4 and 2.4. We got the nice little circles, and we connect them. Okay, so that is example A, that's on page 603. Let's look at example B. Okay, example B says absolute value of X over 4 is less than 2. Okay, again, to get rid of it, pretty simple. Absolute value of X over 4 times 4 is greater than 2 times 4. That gets rid of the denominator. We get the absolute value of X is greater than 8. And now, because it's pointing this direction, when we go to graph this, it's going to look like this. 8, negative 8, and 8. We're going to have pointing in this direction because it's an OR. You know, last time I think I might have forgot to fill in those because it was greater than or equal to. So if I forgot that, forgive me. But you remember, for greater than or equal to, you got to fill those in. All right. All right, so I'm going to give you 2 equations here. I want you to practice them. They are the same thing. I'm going to give you the same type of problem. Here we go. The first one is the absolute value of x is less than 2.2. I'm sorry, absolute value of x minus 2.2 is less than or equal to, and I'll remind you, color it in, 7.8. Another one is 3 times the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 2.7. All right, let's just do those two first, okay? All right, so if you've done those two properly, what you should end up with here is the absolute value of x is equal to 10. So when you graph it, it should look like this. Begin pointing this direction. There we go. Okay, color it in. We got negative 10 and we got 10, and we're going to connect those two right there. Now for B, we're going to end up with x is equal to, absolute value of x is equal to 0.9. So when we graph this, not equals, it's less than, nope, it's greater than, huh? Right there. Greater than or equal, there we go. And when we graph it, you got negative 0.9 and 0.9. We're going to color those in, and because we're saying it's greater than, it's going to be this direction and this direction with the or in it. Okay? So there you can see it. Because it's facing that way, we've got the or, and because it's greater than or equal to, we color it in. All right, now one more I want you to try on this. Okay, and this is where I told you before that things can change. Take a look at this one. Same type of deal. Okay, try this. I got negative 3 times the square root, times the absolute value of x is less than or equal to negative 9. Now I want you to try that one, and then we'll do that one here together. All right, so we still do the same thing. We're going to multiply each side by negative 3. And if I multiply this side, negative 3 times the absolute value of x times negative 3, and then take this times negative 3, I'm going to get no, it's going to be 3, huh? So I'm going to multiply it by the opposite here, right? Negative. Oh, it's. Hold on.
You're supposed to divide.
I got to divide, that's right. Let's go divide by negative 3. There we go. Now we get the absolute value of x. Here we get a negative divided by negative is a positive. We get 3. But because we are, and this is important, because we are dividing by a negative, what happens to the sign? It switches. So we end up with this, okay? And if we're going to graph this, then when we graph it, it's going to be 3, negative 3, and 3. We're going to color it in. But because it's saying greater than, we're going to point this direction, we're going to point this direction, we're going to say or. There it is. Okay, everybody see it? We get there eventually. All right. All right, so that's examples 1 and 2. Let's look at example number 3. Now it gets a little interesting. All right, example number 3 says the absolute value of x minus 5 is is less than or equal to 3. Okay? Now, in order to get this correct, we know that there's two possible answers that are in there. Okay? And we can figure this out that we can do this as x minus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 3, which is the opposite, and x minus 5 is less than or equal to 3. Okay, notice that we can try it both ways, but if we do that, we have to switch the sign. So to solve this now, we do exactly as we did before. If they're subtracting 5, you are going to add 5 to both sides. So we're going to get x, we add 5 to both sides. Okay, we're going to get, I add 5 here, I get 2. Okay, I add 5 here, I get x is less than or equal to 8. Okay, and now when I go to graph that, not too tough, I get 2 and 8 because it's less than or equal to. We color it in because it's a, in this case, it's going to be connected. Okay? This is an and here. Okay? Because x can be greater than 2 and x has to be less than 8. So it's going to be an and right there. All right? If you look at B, we get x, the absolute value of x plus 7 is greater than 3. Now we'll do the exact same thing here we did before. We're going to get x plus 7 is greater than 3, and x plus 7 is less than negative 3. Because we do the negative, we got to switch the sign over here, and then that's what we're going to get. So out of this, we'll add 7 to both sides. We get x is greater than 10, and we get, here we're going to add 7 here. We get x is less than 4. Okay, now, in order to make this happen when we graph it, we're going to have 4 and we're going to have 10. We're going to have circles here, but notice that if x is bigger than 10, it's got to go this direction. And if x is less than 4, it's got to go in this direction, which is going to leave us the old or right there. Okay? So if you want to take a good look at it, again, it's in your book on page 604. Let me give you 2 to practice with. And then I'll show you what the answers are to each of those. Okay? Here's the first one to practice with. The absolute value of x plus 4 is less than or equal to 5. And the other one we're going to practice with is the absolute value of x minus 2 is greater than 3. All right, so I want you to try those. And then we'll come back and see if you've got that right. If you do, you're in good shape. All right. So I started this already. You can see we kept the 5. For the negative 5, we had to switch the sign. When we do the negative 5, we switch the sign. To get rid of the plus 4, you subtract 4. So we end up with 1 here. And we subtract here, we get negative 9. There we go. So we will end up with 1 and negative 9. Because we have to color it in. And in this case, if x is less than 1 and greater than negative 9, we will connect them, and that'll be an and. Okay, for this one over here, we've got x minus 2 is greater than 3, and x minus 2 is going to be less than negative 3. We're going to add 2 to both sides. Okay, and we get x is 3, and x is less than, I'm going to add 2 over here, so it'll be negative 1, and we should end up with negative 1. Oops, that's 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. I'll figure these things out. Okay, so then when we graph it, we have negative 1 and we have 5. We just circle it. If x is greater than 5, it's got to go in this direction. If x is less than negative 1, we go over here. And this is an OR right there. Okay? Well, hopefully that will help you. All right, we have one more section I'm going to take a look at. Example 5 is just kind of using the same things. But we have to look at example 4 because you're going to see some stuff from example 4 in the homework tonight. All right? Take a look at example 4. You're going to like this. Looks simple. It's not tough. Absolute value of x plus 6 is less than or equal to 4. Okay? Can't be that tough, right? Okay, we know we want to isolate the variable, so the first thing we're going to do is subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, we get x, absolute value of x, is less than or equal to negative 2. But, did you notice something about that? Okay, what can we put in for x that is going to give us, for absolute value, negative 2? If you remember, you can't do that. No such animal. Okay, we always put in there no such animal, but you put the empty set will answer that because there is nothing that you can put in there that's going to give you negative 2. Okay, that will pop up. Pretty simple right there. All right, here's the other one that can pop up. Absolute value of x plus 6, okay, is greater than 1. Okay, once again, we are going to subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, we end up with x, absolute value of x is larger than negative 5. Now, in this case, everything I put in there is going to be bigger than negative 5. Okay, I don't care what number you come up with. If I put it in there for absolute value of x, because it's always positive, it will always be bigger than negative 5. So the correct answer here is all real numbers. Okay, that will be on your homework tonight. That's going to be in there as well, when all real numbers will fit in there. So just be looking for those. It'll pop up. Again, not real tough. All right, so let's take a look at your homework. Your homework is, for tonight, on page 606, we're going to do A through J and 1 through 8. All right, that should be good for now. Tomorrow I will give you the answers to all of those. You'll get a chance to correct them yourselves. Here's one thing I'm going to do different during this time is I'm going to give you the opportunity, if you can figure out how you got it all wrong, I'm going to give you the chance to fix it and give yourself some credit for it if you can figure out what you did wrong. I'll give you half a credit there for the ones that if you can figure it and say, oh yeah, here's where I messed up. Okay, fix it, give yourself a half a point for that anyways, and we'll move forward from there. So, this is the first time. Hopefully they'll be a little bit better as we learn how to make these videos. I also have sent you a video for each of the 4 lessons for this week that is somebody else explaining some of the same stuff that I have just showed to you. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier for you, but there's another avenue, another resource that you have for this particular lesson right here. All right, so enjoy.